Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn about how to create your first React project. So first and foremost, what we are going to learn in this particular training session, what are the prerequisites of React, how to create your first React project, understanding the project structure and understanding how React component works. So first and foremost, what are the prerequisites? For that, first and foremost everything, you have to install Node.js. So you can go to nodejs.org and install the LTS version. In my system, it is already installed, so I don't need to install it. You can download it from here and install it. Then you can install npm, and npm has to be installed globally, that is npm g. So for installing npm globally, that is node modules, so these are the steps for installing node modules to your system, and you can follow these steps and install it directly. So after that is installed, you can check the version by this particular command. So over here I say node v. So my node version is 16. So this way you can check it. And for npm also you can check npm-v. So you can check the versions after installing those versions over here. Now to create your React app, you have to run the command as npx create dash react dash app and your application name. So supposingly my React app is the name which I want to give, and you press enter. Now this will install React from the servers directly, so it will take some time. So till then we can just understand what are the components of React and how it works. So first and foremost, what is React? React is a JavaScript based UI development library. It is based on JavaScript. Although it is a library, not a language installed directly, it is widely used today in your web application development. It was created by Meta in 2013 and still it is using it. You can check that major applications which are running faster, that is you can say Netflix, Facebook itself, those are made in React. Now what React is in all build of? React is made of components. In a single React application there can be many components. So if you say and React application consists of components and components, for each and everything you develop components. And why it is running faster? Because it is comprised of JSX. Now what JSX is? JSX stands for JavaScript XML, and JSX is basically a syntax extension of JavaScript, the basic JavaScript. What it does actually is it helps us to write HTML code within JavaScript. So within JavaScript code you can write HTML in between. We can see the project structure and you will understand what exactly it works for. So these are the things which are comprising and making React faster and what the React actually is. So now check whether the application is show the application is created. Now you can open that application in the Visual Studio. So you can just run the short form code, and my application name was my React app. So it will open a Visual Studio code window, and over here you can see that this is the project structure. Now you can see there is a folder named as node modules. So these are the modules which are needed inside the project. Second is the public folder. In public you are having index.html, the starting point of your project, how the project starts. In your source folder you will find app.js, app.css, an index.css and an index.js file. So you can observe the extension is .js, that is JavaScript. we will understand these files in deep, how it works. At the bottom, you are having package.json. Now what this file does, this file has all the startup scripts as well as whatever modules you will be installing over here, you will have an entry over here. You can observe that there is already written React with a version name 18.2.0, React DOM, that is document object model, and that is 18.2.0. So whenever you will install a module, a node module, it will be having an entry over here. We don't need to modify this file. This is the starting point of your modules. So this tells that this many modules are required to run this particular project. Where it is useful? Now, when you move your React project from one PC to another PC, or you do installation from one server to another server, if you don't move node modules and just copy this particular folder without node modules, and when you just run a command npm install, the npm install command checks the package.json file. So from here it will understand that this many modules are required, and it will install that modules inside that particular PC or the server where you are going to run that file. So package.json has its own importance. We don't need to modify it, but remember the starting script, build commands and everything are described over here. Now let's understand the project structure in deep. First, let's start the project. So for running the project, you have to go in your terminal window. In your terminal window, you have to run the command as npm start. So when you run this command, it will start a development server and your application will be running. So you can say that it has launched a browser window at a port number 3000, and you can see that React is up and running. Now, as we all know, the starting point would be index.html. So if you go in index.html, now if you compare the components over here, it is written as edit source app.js and save and reload, learn React, but you don't find it inside your index.html. Over here, you are having just the title which has been displayed, and you are having an element over here, that is div, and it has having an id root. So where is this particular thing coming and how the React application is running? This, as you can observe, is inside app.js. If you go and open the file app.js, now what app.js itself is, it is a component which comes pre-built with your React. React is comprised of components, and this is the starting component which is already made when you create your application. And you can observe that is declaration is simple as function and app. This is similar to a JavaScript function. A JavaScript function also, you have to define the function and the function name, and this is a JavaScript function, but it is somewhat different than JavaScript function. In JavaScript function, you don't have something like this. This is an HTML inside your JavaScript. So this is what we were talking about, that is JSX. So it is JSX which allows to write HTML inside your JavaScript. But again, this file name is app. It is known as app.js, but still how it is running? In index, there is nothing which is calling app.js. It is just having an element known as root over here. Now for running this, you are also having a file named as index.js. Now what index.js does actually? In index.js, you can just observe from the top, you are having import React from React. So these are libraries which are needed to run React, and the import statement are pretty clear, similar as your C# code or something. We can just say import the module which is needed from the class, the basic class. It is React from React DOM, React DOM from React DOM says client, and you have CSS imported over here. Now what actually it does? This CSS is implemented for only this particular file, index.js, that is your main file which is running. You can observe that over here there is a constant. This is an ES6 syntax, that is advanced JavaScript syntax, ES6. React DOM dot create root. Now what this create root does? This tells React to create a root element at this particular position. And you can observe it is written as document.getElementById by ID and root. Now you go and observe inside your index HTML. In index HTML, you are having a div named as root. So this in turn is called from here. And what is to be printed over here is done in root.render. So what actually React does is, React always renders the particular component at a particular place. So over here you can observe, we check it again, constant root, react DOM dot create root, and where to create that root? Document dot get element by ID root. So this particular syntax is of JavaScript syntax, which will find the position where you are having an element root. So that is defined inside your index.html. So it understands that the component has to be printed over here or has to be interpreted over here. And which component has to be interpreted? That is written over here, root.render, what to render. And over here you can say app. Now you can observe app is a JS file. As I said, it is a function, it is a JavaScript function, but each component in React will be defined as a function. Now to call this particular app component in index.js, it is being called this way. So you can see that app is being called in your index.js file as a element. As we write HTML elements, supposingly we write an HTML element that is h1. So you can see this is an element which is written. So components are being called as elements inside your JavaScript JS using JSX, which enables us to write it. We try to modify something over here. In app.js, I want to write an HTML over here. I just type HTML, welcome to my application. And as you save it, you can say it has been compiled over here. And you can observe it, welcome to my application. So this is how it is written. Spelling is wrong. Welcome to my application. So this is how it works. So you just observed how React application actually starts. It is being called by index.html as it is in public, but index.html has only one thing which is known as root element. Now where is this root element being called, or how it understands that something has to be interpreted or being called over root? So that is written in your index.js. In index.js, you are having as react DOM.create root. So when you create this root element, where to create that root element? Document.getElementById by ID root. Now as we have defined this constant root, it has to be rendered with some component. So it says root.render. What to render? That is app. And inside your app, you are having a function which is named as app. Now you can observe, and it is a best practice when we will be creating more components in your React application. Remember to name it with capital. It is a basic idea to give the function name with capital and the file name with capital, starting with a capital letter, because we don't need it to clash with something. You are having a element as header, and supposingly I write a function over here. We create an component. So for creating component, it's a function, and supposingly I give a name as header. Now we can observe this header and the HTML header is same. So this may have a clash over here. So we don't need that clash. So we name it as header, capital header. So this is how you define your own component. Right now we are just learning to define a component inside your app.js. In next sections or next tutorial, we can learn it how to create the component individually in a file. So for creating a component, we just say function and the name. We just remember that we keep it capital. The first initial letter will be capital over here. So that is header, and over here we have to write a statement as return. Now what this return is, you can observe that in the component actually built, that is app, you are having a statement as return. So this return tells the browser that this has to be returned inside your browser or interpreted inside your browser. Over here I just say return statement and I just want one h1 and I just say this is my first simple component, and over here you can just say we want to call this particular thing. So in app, before the app header which is already defined, I want to call this component. So over here you just have to type as header, which is capital, and we just close that tag. Now in HTML also you are having some tag which have closing and starting together. We just say br and we can just type it as br. This way it works. So the closing tag has to be done directly over here. We don't need as header and slash header. This is not wrong, but JSS says we have to type it this way. So header is being called. Now when you save it and you observe, your header component is made and created. So this is the introduction to React, how to create your React project. What is the file structure? The file structure consists of a public folder, one source folder, and one package.json. Package.json will be containing all the modules which are loaded using the npm command, the node modules which will be loaded over here, and it is helpful while moving your projects. The source folder, which will be working inside always, is containing one component which is pre-built, which is known as app.js. Component of React are comprised of function, JavaScript function and the function name, and it is the actual component name. It is having syntax which is known as JSX syntax, which allows us to write HTML within JavaScript. It makes it easier for the DOM element to interpret it. How it is being called? The first file which is run, that is index.html. Now index.html has an element known as root, a div id root. It is being called by index.js file. In index.js file you are having a constant root which is creating the root element, that is react dom.create root. Where to create that root? Document.getElement by id root. So it will find this particular id. And what has to be interpreted inside your root? So that is root.render. What to render? That is app, and it is calling app.js. To create your own component, you just have to write a function, and function we are typing as a function name header, and inside that we return whatever we want to return. This is just simple HTML. In next tutorials, we will be learning how to create a variable, how to call variables over here, and we can go on further. But for now, we can just say this is your component, and to call that component, we just call it like an HTML element and we type as header. Hope this tutorial was useful for understanding the basic of React, how a React application is made. Join our channel and we will be coming up with next tutorials on React. Thank you.